Hi everyone, Sandra Duran Wilson here, and welcome to this week's Mixed Media Soul Sparks. Every week I bring you some new ideas for painting and creating more mixed media work. So one of the most important parts of a painting, it's like the foundation, is you have to work with values, meaning the lights and the darks. And this is one thing I see newer painters, even people that have been painting for a long time, struggle with the most, is how do you create these values? And one of the ways to train your eye to do this is like to look at black and white. It's just like taking your photograph that you took with your phone and converting it to black and white. You know, or even a piece that you're working on, take a picture of it, convert it to black and white, and you can see where the values are. And what I mean by that is, like, when we're looking at this one, it's pretty much all black and white. There's not a lot of mid-range, whereas here we've got some more grays in here. And this is the easiest way to understand values. Values are a great way to work with your composition. They will move the eye around the painting. Here, I've got a dark area here and here, some lights in here, and I've got some gray tones in here. So as I start to bring color on top of this, you can see a little purple in there, but I can work with these values. I could come back into this piece and add a blue on top and some yellows and create my work on top of this. Now these are just black and white gesso. You can use black and white paint. This one, I actually just used a knife to spread it around, and I'll show you what I did. So let me get these pieces over here. This is just like scrap paper. I was playing around with some ideas. All right, let's do, this is an ungessoed piece, and this piece is gessoed. So let's look at the difference. So I've got white gesso and I've got black gesso. And I'm going to put this onto, this is the gessoed piece. And I'm saying, okay, what if I want some white areas back in here? It's kind of a diagonal. And I'll be giving you some notes on composition ideas. I call it the alphabet soup of composition. And here I'm going to use this black gesso. And rather than using tools and really analyzing my composition, I'm going to show you the 6-year-old approach to composition, and I love it. So I've got the black and white gesso on there, spray a little water, and you can use a deli sheet or you can use this piece of paper, and you're just going to put this on and you're going to start to drag it, and this is how you get your gray tones. I'm going to flip it over. I want to add some whites into here. Maybe I put a little too much on. It's pretty thick there. Let me just take this one, and now I'm going to put some white paint on. This is the Holbein white, and it's a bit more opaque. And you see what happens when I start to drag it over? I get this very interesting effect of how it starts to bead up a bit. And this is creating my mid-range values. And let's get a little more going up over here. Yeah, I think I put way too much gesso on, so I'm going to take some of this off, put it over here, pick some of that one up. Because I still have a lot of pretty dark values in here. So how do I change this. There's another way you can do it. So you can start to lift some of this. Now, you see what happens when it gets all kind of the same gray? This is what happens when you're trying to use maybe similar colors and you're over mixing when everything is wet, just like I did there. That's what happens, and you get mud. So the trick is you let these dry, you come back in, and then you add your lighter colors or your darker colors. And you start to create these different shapes of color. So I can't do a lot more with that when it's wet, but I can pull one of these over. And this is an interesting area where I got this kind of broken white and black and the gray. And I'm going to take some of this one and I'm going to transfer some of that gray over into here. And I start to get different values. See how that black is going up there? Maybe I'll pick up some white from over here, bring it on top of that. So these are like becoming my palette. And then let me put this down. I'm just going to bring some more white paint and pick up some of this wet, because now I'm working on top of dry. So this is where I can start to mix some of these mid-range grays. See how strong that gesso is as far as tinting. So I'm going to come back in with this gesso, the white, and put it on top. It's a good idea to play with different gesso and paint, because you're going to see the differences. Now when I start to bring some more white into here, it's going to accentuate those mid values. I'll bring some more mid-value down in here. Compositionally, your eye is going to go to the highest area of contrast. So right now we've got the darkest dark and the whitest white, like up in here, up in there. But that's almost right in the middle. So I want to start to move my eye away from that. Keep rotating a piece when you're working on it so you can see what is off. This one could be rather interesting if I let it dry and then add some more whites to it. Look at what's happening to that one. That's kind of interesting. See what that one does. But while these are drying, get these out of the way. Now these are dry, and now I can come in and start to add glazes or color. And I'll show you what begins to happen with these. Especially if I use a transparent color. Let's go with these two. This is a transparent red iron oxide. And then this is actually an ink, but it's a red oxide, same color, but not quite as transparent. So here, if I bring this over these various values, you're going to see how it accentuates that range of color. Here's the more opaque one. Do you see how it covers that black? And just by working with these two colors and the value range, I can already begin to see some possibilities for how this composition may work. That's just one color. But what a difference between opaque and transparent. Let's come in here with this ink, and this is called Purple Lake. And I'm going to bring it over this kind of mid-value area. Let's move this out of the way so we can get centered. See how intense that is? But if I wipe off most of it and start to bring it over there, look at how interesting this is already getting to be. I'm going to put a little alcohol on here, remove some, come back in with a little purple, and it's pretty interesting how you can work with a composition, a painting, and really start to understand your values by working with the black and white and then layering both transparent and opaque colors on top. One other little tip, there's a couple of things to use. If you wanted to extend your open time, you could use the glazing medium. You could also use a gloss medium. The difference between the gloss medium and the glazing medium is the glazing medium will keep your paint wet longer. So if you're doing something like this on a larger surface, you might want to use this. If you're using to make a glaze, just a small area, you can use the gloss medium. And one other tip that the glazing medium does, and I'll show you, I'm just going to put a couple of drops here. Let's put this one, put 3 drops here. Because of the additive in this, it's going to rehydrate that paint, and I'll be able to lift those colors off of that. Now, I don't know if it'll work fast enough, but let's just try it. No, it didn't. You'd have to let it sit, and this is actually on paper too. But anyway, you could remove some of the paint, as you see. So work with some black and whites, some glazing, see where it takes your paintings in a value range, and I'm going to go ahead and finish this one and show you what it looks like. Please share your work in the Facebook group so we can see what you're doing, and when you come up with some inspirations, share it with the rest of us. I'd love to see what you're doing. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Join the Creative Awakening community on Facebook, where you'll be able to post your art, connect with other creatives around the world, and ask questions. Use the hashtag #MixedMediaSoulSparks when posting your work on social media. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next week.